What's up, crew? We're here with the epic crew of the most phenomenal film I've seen in a long time. Corners of the Earth. The boys, Guy, Spenny, Letty, Fraze. We're here to talk about the film. We're here to get deep on the process. We're here to get right into it. But to start with, I should say, what I want to talk to these guys about is the support that you guys got from the incredible sponsors. The major sponsor of Project Blank. How did you get those guys on board, and why those guys? Spenny Frost.
So Project Blank is a little wetsuit company out of Australia, and they've got a kind of eco-friendly thing going about them, and they've always supported all of us, and we kind of pitched this project to them, and it was a big ask of them to come on as like the leading sponsor, and from the start they just said, let's go, and they basically custom made us wetsuits for the trip, and we were with them through the whole design process for the wetsuits for like the coldest water, keeping surfing basically. So yeah, very thankful for them coming on board, and couldn't have done it without them.
So would you say that Project Blank were aligned in values? I mean, I know you guys specifically, guys as well, very much aligned in terms of your values with the ecosystem and looking for support in the environment. Is that something that sort of led you into leading into talking to those guys?
Definitely. I think what they're doing as a company is great. And I think like the biggest thing for us was like we had our vision and they supported that. And then for a brand that's doing the right thing with the environment, it was like, why wouldn't we want to jump on with them? It was just such a good opportunity. And I think it's like quite empowering for us when we pitch an idea and like someone backs you fully. Like it's kind of empowering to yourself, and like, I don't know, when someone else believes in you, it makes shit happen in a way.
Totally. I mean, we've talked on another podcast, myself and yourself, very much about great companies trust the vision of the artist, you know, and it sounds like in this case, you guys came up with this incredible vision, and Project Blank were like, we're in, we love the idea. And what kind of input did they have into the process of where you guys went to and what you did? Apart from the wetsuits, was there any input, or was it just, we're going to let you guys charge up the wetsuits and let you do your thing?
Yeah, they just basically, they had no kind of creative input or input at all through the project. We just basically said, we're doing this, this is where we're going, this is who's coming, and they basically said, run wild. Which is kind of like a dream. If it's a dream for a sponsor or a brand to come on board and kind of give you that trust, and they trusted in us from the start, and I think they're pretty happy with what we came away with.
And I think we're going to talk a little bit about the trust that you'd already built with the original film, right? Corner of the Earth. And I think we're going to get to that in a moment. But one of the big things that I was very impressed about, and as I said, fellas, this film is fucking extraordinary. And the thing about it is that it runs the rewatch test. I watched it 2 nights in a row, and I enjoyed it more the second time than the first time, and I loved the first time. So I think that's when you know, because I mean, I watch Art of Flight and I'm over and over again. This is the kind of film that I want in my bank so I can watch it again and again.
So I said, a few people said that, It's pretty baffling. Like 90-minute film and you want to watch it twice, and hopefully more.
Yeah.
So thinking about, we'll get to that, what you learned from the first film to the second, but what this film really showed me about, what it was about for me was 2 things. The first thing we talked about was the values thing, which was ultimately unity for me. And you're over in Russia in a time that was gnarly. But what this film came to show, and obviously you've got your crew here as well, that's come all the way from Russia, all the guys, Anton and Max and these guys that were part of it, is that 90% of the world are good fucking people, right? And this show and this film really, for me, was one of the things that I loved about it, was the unity, the surf culture, and it was definitely around that surf culture that brings everyone together. But ultimately, it's just good people doing good things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of it, right? So that was the first thing. The second thing, fortune favours the bride, right?
So this is twice now that we've gotten really, really lucky. Like the first film, I feel like we, that was a little bit of a miracle. And then this one, it's just, keep happening.
And if you think about what fortune favours the brave is, it's like there's those moments in life where you are tested. Your courage is tested, your will is tested, your vision is tested. How much do you actually want this? Or do you just kind of want it? And this happens with, as you guys know, as high-performance athletes, high-performance actors, whatever it might be. The guys that get to the top, get to that precipice or that mark, that barrier, that block, and they go, I want it more than the other guy. So let's move on. Let's go through no matter what this costs. Because you guys literally had to decide what could have been life and death. Was it that? And for you guys, I'm going to aim this at the athletes specifically, but in that moment where you had to decide we're going forward from Dubai, in that moment where you had your team meeting, it's an individual question. Was there a moment where you considered we could get shot down? Was there a moment where you considered the gnarliest expectation or the gnarliest thing that could have happened, and you had to process that before you said yes to the mission?
100%. Like that hour was so up and down. We all just kept having meetings and we kept getting messages from everyone, and like the whole time I think you're thinking of the worst and you're going, well, is it, doing this? I think it just put it into perspective. Like, we're here to do a surf project. This is so much bigger than us, and it made it really hard to decide what to do. Like, we were all, I'm glad we did it, obviously, but at the time we were so up and down on it.
But so how do you make that decision, like individually? Because like I said, I talk to guys who ride big mountains, big waves, and they always say you've got to look at worst case scenario and be okay with that and make the decision. But when in this case, worst case scenario is literally something pretty gnarly. How did you process that on an individual level? Because I'm interested in the mind. You guys know I'm a mind guy.
I think we all agreed as a group to just give it a crack, fly to Moscow, and if we get turned away, we get turned away. But ultimately, like, we were confident that as a team we could get through this. And yeah,
I think it probably would have been like a pretty different story if you were doing that trip solo, though. You know what I mean? Like, man, having your best mates with you when it comes to those types of decisions can make it a lot more at ease, But I don't know, like, everything was so unknown, so it was impossible to we were just all guessing. And, the people at home and then even the people in Russia, we didn't know what was happening. So it was I think we all just sat down and took a breath. And for me, I don't know, something was just you're going to be fine. If they're flying, if things are still going ahead, but that, I guess that's putting trust in the flight attendants. When the flight attendants freaked out, then I think we're all holy shit, because there's you put trust in the pilots, you put trust in people on the ground who in the process. Yeah, who are they're controlling what's going on. And so I think when we were grounded for long, the decision was, for me, it was easy. Because I don't know, there's how am I meant to know what's going on? And then when we were grounded for that 4 hours near within, where were we? Abu Dhabi. And that was when it was holy shit, this is definitely a lot gnarlier than, I don't know.
And you look at us in the movie, we're both wearing hoodies, but we're just covered in sweat. And I don't think we actually made the call there's a point in the movie where it's all right, are we doing this? And that's as we're about to hand over our passports to get on the plane.
Yeah, full, and ran to the gate.
So you guys are in that moment, you're at the gate, and you've kind of edging, and you've said, okay, we're doing it. Because I remember that moment, there's a breath in it. Yeah. You're on the plane, you get on the plane, and they sit you on the tarmac.
Yeah, it was Tuesday, we're doing it, and then we're oh, maybe we're not doing it,
At that point, I completely didn't think that we would fly. I thought we'd all have to stay in Abu Dhabi a few nights.
I remember in the film, you definitely said that.
Because the trucks kept coming back to load stuff on and off.
How many times did you say, oh, maybe we should get on those trucks?
Well, no, people got off the plane. Yeah, and the flight attendants came and told us it was this Aussie girl. Yeah. She came, she's I can't believe you guys are staying. And we were just oh my God.
We just how any of us meant to know what to do in that position? I don't know anyone else who's been in that position, and they would, you just take it as it comes, I guess, like, and have full trust and faith, and you know, yeah.
Well, you just mentioned two big things, right? Trust and faith. Like the valley of trust starts with others, process into self, then goes from expressing that from process into other people, which is what you guys, sounds like you did in your process. You kind of segmented those particular moments and said, you know what, yes, I trust that, I trust myself, we're going to go for it. Yeah. And that creates that element of faith, which when you've got trust and faith, you can be present.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of performance. That beautiful nexus point of trust and faith is where you get performance. And in those moments, you can only try and stay present, because if you're thinking about what could happen in the future, what could happen, all these things, you can, like you said, you put yourself into a sweat. But leading into that, right, the synchro destinies of all of the things that had to happen for you to actually get in the door. I mean, even that phone call, I was talking outside, right? The phone call, you've got the flight if you leave an hour later, or if you get off the tarmac an hour later, you don't get in. We talk about fortune and the brave, like those moments of testing, because ultimately manifestation, or bringing something to fruition that doesn't exist, starts with words, then goes to belief, then goes to courage, right? And you guys believed in the worth of the vision of the project. You believed in that it was worthwhile doing, and then that courage is the test, and you will be tested. And you guys were given the ultimate test, but then you get through, and it's, as we said, it's probably the greatest experience of your life. Well, look, but you know, this is where I want to cut to now. It definitely was the best experience of your life.
No doubt. Yeah, 100%.
And you know where I'm going with this, man. Like, I've got a photograph on my screensaver of my computer, which Guy's a big fan of. The moment in Into the Wild, when he sees the elk, he's in the wild and he sees the elk and the tears, right? Yeah. It's my favorite piece of cinema in history.
Yeah.
And I see that again in this film with yourself when you experience that moment, like
on the chopper.
In the chopper, where like life's beauty just becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, for sure.
Run me through, like, and I know you might have expressed a little bit about this, but the gratitude, well, just express that moment and what it meant to you in terms of the presence that we talked about before.
Yeah. I guess like you, I don't know how long we had on that chopper, but it felt like we were on there most of the day. But I think it was just like, you know, we started surfing when we were 4 or whatever, and I didn't know any of these guys. And then, you know, I don't know, at like 14, we became best friends, and at 15, we probably became best friends. And like, just the whole, I just remember just thinking of like the whole journey of like, just like where life has taken us in a way. And like to think that I started surfing, and if you know, that cliche of like, if you told me this 5 years ago, I would have told you to fuck off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, with 3 of your best mates and like the most talented people, and you know, Fraz and I, like, we didn't have to do much for this, you know, we just had to hang in there and go for the ride with these boys. And the amount of work that they put in behind the scenes that no one will ever know or see, and they don't need to see, but like when all that comes together, like it's, I don't know, it's like, it's crazy. You don't like, I don't, again, like, I think I didn't even know what to say, and I still don't. It's just like that deep, like shaky, you know, feeling of like just gratitude of life, and like where surfing and friendship has like taken us, you know? And you're not just sharing that with like a couple of randoms on a film project, and you got invited on, you're sharing it with your best mates. It's fucking the sickest thing ever, you know, like, it's mental.
It's like in that moment where you literally connect to the source of all things, right? When you've got the besties and the best talent all coming together in the best environment. And you're like, what did I do to deserve this?
Exactly. Yeah, what did I do to deserve this? And like, how are we here right now in this crazy place in the world on a chopper, on a surf trip, you know? Like, and what I do to deserve, you know?
Well, I think what that is that element of courage that you talked about. It's like, this is the feeling I get when I back myself, when I trust confidence, courage, moving forward into those things. And this is what I get to experience. And the body goes into that. This is what you get, man.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like that
Release.
like now. You get tingly, you know?
Yeah.
It's really poetic and beautiful. And I mean, so how long have you guys, you said at 4, you kind of hanging out? You guys
No, so we'll start serving when we're 4, and then, I don't know, hanging out, like,
So we started competing against each other at probably 10 or 12.
Yeah.
And then started traveling together at 14, and then,
yeah.
surfing every day together.
So what is it? I'll start with you then. What's it about Fraser? What are the elements of Fraser that stand him out? The reason why he's one of your best buds.
Swiss. Oh, boy.
Say something nice about him.
This is my most hated thing.
Get into the heart, though.
I love saying I love the boys, but I think like his courage on doing things, and like his leadership, for sure. Like he always just like wants to go have a dig, and for me, like I think I appreciate that as a friend, and like having someone to like help lead, or like help lead me, and like just feed me that courage and like the belief, and so I don't know, and then just like, yeah, I don't know. I think that my courage, for sure.
You said that really well.
Oh. I'm not good at telling people what I like about them. I hate it. I don't know why.
Well,
I love all the boys, but
it seems like you're a man of feeling rather than words.
yeah,
you know,
probably.
And you show that in the film, man. You express yourself with hugs and life and energy, and you play that character really well because it's authentic. And I think that's you at your best, right? When you feel most comfortable to express yourself as who you are in that feeling and that energetic exchange.
Yeah.
And you talk about Fraser's courage, man. You going into Fraser, you're, as they say, a cold water veteran. Run me through for you, one, wanting to get back on board for a film that was so challenging the first time, and then what is it about this second project that was just above and beyond everything else for you?
I think like wanting to go back to cold places is just like, I love being by myself or with, one of my best mates in the water, looking at snow. Like, so much has to go right to get good surf there. But when it does, it just feels so special. I know I've said that a lot, but like, it truly feels different to anything else there is in surfing. And I think that's what I really loved about it. And then when the boys came up with this one, it's a no-brainer. Like, for your 3 best mates, get to go on a trip of a lifetime and do that. Like, of course I was going to say, like, of course I was going to say, yes, come to that.
Are you someone that feels quite connected when you're not surfing, in terms of like either spiritually or through nature? Or like, what's your relationship with connection? Because ultimately that's what you're mentioning with when you go into remote areas and things turn on for you at the right place at the right time. That's for whatever your belief system is, God-given, the nature, the universe, whatever it is.
I don't feel connected when I haven't been surfing. I think surfing's like something I use to feel connected. It's like I get out of rhythm when I'm not surfing a lot, and like when I'm not putting myself into like elements. So I think that like I use surfing as a tool to do that, for sure.
Is it the same in like bushwalks, mountains, snow?
Completely, but particularly in the surf. Like it's the thing that me and Letty love like so much. So I think that the water's my preferred realm. The mount, like we were saying, like when we're in the mountains, and like all the guides there, that obviously so amazing, like at what they do and being in that space, but we just had no idea, and you feel so like powerless in that, like you just like you got nothing. It's like if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have gotten through the trip.
And you kind of have to feel like you're at the mercy of it all, which gives you that state of presence that you're talking about before. I mean, Guy, you're someone that definitely connects deeply to nature. You're a boulderer, you're a rock climber, you're a backcountry guy. Tell me the difference in the experience, or if there is one, compared to, say, the top of Mount P or out the backcountry there, compared to something like this for you, like in terms of the depth of connection.
On the trip?
On the trip versus what you're almost your training.
The trip felt super raw. It felt like you were going to a place that had never really been explored before. Like it felt untouched in a way. Whereas a lot of the trips that we've done previously is like, I wouldn't say they're busy areas, but people have been there before, but it really did feel like we were pioneers in a way, like, which was awesome because that's like how we've been inspired to do these trips are from people that have come before us. So to be in a place searching for waves, like in a helicopter with your best mates, like exploring a coastline that's never been explored before, it felt like unique for all of us, and raw and real and scary and intimidating. And, you know, you're flying past volcanoes with ash coming out the top. It's like, that's real wild nature. And it was, I think for Spenny and I, was like, we've spoken about this before, but it's like a mix of like trying to be in the moment, be present, and then also like capture moments within. So it was like trying to find that balance of being there, enjoying it, but also like tell a story and create shots and videos and stuff. So it was like, it was definitely hard at times to like be present in the moment, but yeah, it's hard not to pinch yourself like in a place like that.
Was the flyovers of the volcanoes and stuff, was that all part of the B-roll plan, or was it more just what the opportunity that presented?
We were just shooting whenever we got a chance to, and every time we got in the helicopter, like whether we had, sometimes we thought we'd be able to set up a shot with like, the boys running to a chopper, and it was just like, get in, go, we're going. So a lot of the time it was just whatever we can get, camera out the, like, out the door or out the windows, and just filming the mountain porn. And there was definitely a lot of dream shots that we really wanted to get that we just had to like throw them out the window because time or weather or budget, or we just, we couldn't do it all. But we tried, and I think, but in the end, I think we did pretty good with what we had. And
I think you did okay. Dude. Just enough. Yeah, there's, and again, just to shoot it to Guy, like, how, talking about the process of being, because, you're the stills master, but I'm guessing you obviously on the video on this one as well. Some of the questions that some guys had in terms of how you were, like, how do you decide I'm going to shoot stills? How do you decide I'm on video? Or are you taking the still from the raw of the video? And what was the percentage of the differences between I'm doing stills right now or I'm doing video?
For me, it was like leaving all the hero imagery to Spen because he's just like a wizard at that stuff. And then for me, it was like in the hero moments, I'm going to do stills. And then if it's like more doco and we're on the run or in transit or in the heli, that's when I try and flick through both, because like it was pretty much just the two of us the whole time. And we had Misha over there who was amazing, a local guide and cinematographer. So he'd jump on board when he can, but a lot of the time it was just me and Spenny. So I was like, if Spenny's shooting a crazy shot out the portal window of the heli and then Letty's crying, it's like he's got that covered. I'm going to focus on Letty. And it was just like balancing it out because it is so hard. Like,
mention you crying again.
Well, I think that's one of our favorite moments of the trip, but again, it was like we were just trying to work with each other so much because there was so much to shoot, and we actually didn't get to shoot a lot of the time. So when it was on, and we were just trying to do everything because, like Spenny said before, it was like the weather's in control there. Like, there was times when we went to the coast on a heli trip and we camped there for the night, wake up, we're meant to be there for 2 or 3 days, and the pilots phone in and just say, hey, there's a storm coming, we've got to get you out. Like, we don't get to surf. They just come back, pick you up, take you to the lodge, storm's there for a week, and you're just like, okay, we haven't got anything to...
Well, I got some friends who have seen the movie too. They're like, oh, ask him this, ask him this. A couple of the things they were asking about was, what'd you do in your downtime? And what kind of food did you eat?
That's a good... People curious about the food, eh? We were curious before we left, actually.
Do you want to go?
Oh, we just did heaps of snowboarding because we were staying at like a snowboarding lodge, and they had like a fun little run that all the boys could just muck around on. They gave us all snowboards for the 2 months, so whenever we had like a day off, and it was like a full whiteout, and you couldn't get to the beach, you could the road was closed or something, we'd just be locked in the room, and then we'd just go and snowboard basically, like right next to the cabin. What else did we do? They had a hot tub, spending their time in the hot tub.
Volcanic springs.
Yeah.
Not hot.
Nonsense, which was cool. And then, we just basically on the down days, like me and Guy would get together a lot, and like with Max, the like kind of logistics guy, and just plan out the week ahead or like the days ahead. And then we'd kind of, between us, we'd like just be like, what shots do we still need to get? What do we need to still cover? Charge batteries, do data, because it was just, once we'd go to the coast for like 3 days, there's no power or anything. So you have to just like rinse all your batteries, film all the cards. And then when you get back, you have to kind of pick up the pieces and get ready for the next trip. And
But the days off didn't feel like days off. Like, I don't know, I wasn't dumping footage, but like, we were still always planning, like, you guys were planning shots and we were always talking to Max about what we were doing next. And then, like, I don't know, we'd go and stretch out or like, have a little training session. And like, we were all, I feel like we did the hot tub and the snowboarding, but even that's like, in the hot tub or in the volcanic springs, we were always talking about what we needed to do. I reckon, like, which was really good, but it still didn't. I reckon that's why we had such a big come down, because it was just like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it was no rest. I hate to know how many hours we spent on Magic Seaweed.
Yeah, yes.
Bored looking at forecasts, wind, and
I'm trying to figure out what was possible with cars and like the helis and everything. It's like, we got to get this person to pick us up. We need to go here. We need to, like, what was crazy, dude?
what was really cool was like going to Max with a challenge, who owns the lodge, and going, hey, we need a snowmobile and a boat in the chopper for 3 days. And he's like, thinks about it. He's like, yeah, done.
Yeah.
He's like, I can do that for sure. Just seeing him work there was, mate, it was incredible.
The boat, he like picked up the phone. It's like, yeah, we got a boat.
And I think like we haven't even touched on it yet, but like we were there for 2 months, and like the lady was saying, we're always doing something. Like either we're surfing, filming, planning. That whole 2 months, like in the background, that situation was obviously going on with Russia and Ukraine. So like we were constantly talking to people at home and talking to family, talking to the embassy, and like that I think did take a toll on all of us, whether we knew it or not, because we were like constantly on edge. Like there was times when Luke, the producer, was like, hey, like potentially you guys will have to leave like tomorrow or the next day. Like, so we were always thinking about that. And then when we were all there for the reason of making this project, it was kind of hard to, like when that stuff's going on, to like focus like all your energy on getting.
Yeah, there's always a little bit just in the background that's distracted by the potential of either having to bail or, you know.
We were almost booking flights after a month.
Like
I
remember
forgot about that.
Like there was that week period where shit hit the fan, and like you had calls being like, let's wrap it up, and then we had people being like, hey, pack a bag and get your stuff ready in case like you need to get out of there, because I think Dubai and Abu Dhabi were potentially going to shut off from Russia. So there was a few days where it was like right on the edge of whether we need to get out of there quickly, and we had like plan A, B, C, D, and E to get out. But yeah, like Sven was saying, that took a big toll. Like you're trying to make this story and tell this, you know, an adventure surf trip, and then this going on in the background. And like there was definitely a few days where there was tension between us, because again, like none of us knew what to do or how to like navigate the situation. So it was really.
And you're carrying the burden or the emotion, not only of yourself in that situation, but family members, right? That are, and like you say in the film, it's like it's a loving father, and then you go, and then it cuts, right? So I completely understand what you mean by there's influence, and when you trust those people that you influence, like it seems like that was quite a challenge for yourself, Ray, as probably one of the bigger challenges. How did you process that mentally in order to stay, or say I'm going to stay, in order to go, you know what, we're all in, we're doing this. Like, what was that decision or process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I think just having trust in like all three of these guys, Lukey and the team that we were with in Kamchatka, and just knowing how far we were away from everything, that's what got me through that whole thing. But I mean, getting messages from family once saying, come home now, this is like, so I've never had that before. And there was this whole thing of like having to, you know, kind of mediate with them, and then like, while still trying to do your thing. So like Spenny said, it caused a lot of, you know, stress the whole time. But I completely get where they were coming from as well. I imagine being at home and having, you know, like it'd be so hard if you put it in their shoes. So I get it, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, and we definitely don't want to say that there's a shift of like a projection of emotion from people that love us, but you know, there's those times where, you know, the sons and daughters have gone off and spread their wings, expanded their, you know, experience, that have been gnarly things like climbing K2 or going to war as an example, right? And it's just I guess an indication as to how much we are loved. But I guess the decision, like we said at the start, the fortune favors the brave. It's like, yeah, we can turn back, and then it's like you say in the film, but then it's over. Or yeah, you know what? Like, you're right, guys, we could stay, but I need to get back to my family. And then you get back and you realize there's that regret that it just sits in the back of your mind for the rest of your life, where you're like,
what if?
Like Spen and Guy said before, like, I don't think we were going to leave unless we really had to. I think we knew, like, once we got to Kamchatka and we saw that place and saw how isolated it was and, like, how incredibly beautiful it was, I think it would have taken those airports shutting down for us to go, okay, we've actually got to go.
And with that, how many plans we had of what if, you know, something happened, how we get out of there. Like, when you have all those things, it settles you for sure, or for me it did. So, like, yeah, and then, yeah.
Which goes down to show that, you know, your team that you put together, you know, was the preparation allowed the execution, which allowed you to kind of enjoy it for as much as you could.
For sure.
You know, if you do get stuck in the northeast of Russia, like, you're not on, like you said, you're not on your own, you're not McCandless, you're not in the middle of Alaska doing things, you know, with hook and knife.
No.
You've got people, you've got solid crew, you've got obviously comms if you can. So the Russia crew really did, I think, give you that sense of, well, no matter what goes on, we've got safety here.
I remember we had one night where it was probably the height of all the chaos that was going on, and I kind of just took Max aside and I just said, hey, we're all stressing, like, we're all really worried. And then he just like kind of just sat me down. He's like, your safety is like our number one priority. So he's like, you guys are fine. And he's like, we're constantly checking the situation, we're constantly assessing everything. They're like, yeah, he travels around the world and he knows the global news, he knew the situation, everything that was happening. So hearing him say that, I think really kind of, that was like a bit of a turning point. We're just like, oh, it's cool that they've got our backs and like that. And then they were just like, he's like, do you want to make this project? And we're like, yeah, we want to do it. He's like, well, you got 2 months here, so yeah, let's do it.
That was a huge turning point.
Yeah,
And he was like, in. He's like, after the first few surf trips, when he saw how much it meant for us, and then saw the value of doing it for it, and like everything that's going on, like, and then like the quality was cool, but he worked with Travis Rice's fourth bays, and like he works with some of the best snow athletes in the world, like, so it was pretty cool that he just like kind of saw the value in this surf film and like jumped on and believed in us.
And so, yeah, getting him on board was something that was really impressive for me. Is like, how do you pitch a project like this that has never really been done in terms of surfing, and how do you pitch it that so much so that he's like, yeah, I'm involved and keen. How did you get him on board?
I basically went on I sent an introduction message that we got translated into Russian, and it just said, my name's Spencer Frost, filmmaker from Australia. We want to come to Kamchatka. Is there waves? Can you help us? Pretty much. Simple as that. Translated into Russian, sent it to like 20 people on Instagram, and then Anton, the local surfer, got back to me. And from the start, like the first Zoom call we all had with him, he was just like, you can tell he was on and just like such a character. And then the other person, Anton, introduced us to Max, and then Max, we found out, was the same guy who ran all the logistics for Travis's film, and he's done like BBC, Nat Geo, all types of stuff. He's got the helicopters, snowmobiles, boats, guides. Like, basically having him on was just like, we were set up to success, basically. You just had to find ways, which they were like amazing snow guys, and they'd been in those mountains for like 30 plus years, but they weren't surfers apart from Anton. So it was a little bit hard. That was like a whole nother beast of a logistical nightmare trying to, like, Fraser, you were telling a Russian helicopter pilot where to land, where is like a left point bridge.
Had to draw it in the snow, like sit there with him and go, okay, so this is what the headland looks like. We need to get here to like see this wave, to have like a vantage point. And ultimately I got it wrong because we should have landed in the other bay. But I mean, none of us knew. So I mean, we kind of got close, but then we had to like look through Spen's long lens, and it was, yeah.
Isn't that crazy, that
a lot going on.
Just there. Yeah. I mean, lash on the other fucking side.
And then at the end, Max goes, oh yeah, no, we could have landed there for sure. I was like, oh, that would have been really nice.
So you've got an incredible team that you've put together. You've got like obviously your talent as well. There's moments in that film that, again, that are breathtaking. Not only just the talent on the waves and stuff and how it's captured, but I think as a holistic, as you're talking about your team, you know, you got your color, you got Lukey's on the edit, like incredible job on that edit. Your brother's on the sound, that soundtrack again, premium. Are these, how do I want to ask this question? It's like the confidence coming out of the first team because obviously when you've got your brother on that one as well.
Yeah.
What kind of at the end of this particular process, when you're in the edit and you've got it, the sound and the colors all done, what was the experience like for you as the maker to sit there and see this compared to both? Because your first film is obviously your first film. It's your baby. And again, but then this thing's the beast. So what was the experience like? Was it a different experience coming to see the final product for you?
I think this one just took so much more out of like all of us. And like it wouldn't have been possible without, like, with me and Guy was saying, like, collaboration on this one was like the biggest part of everything, because we had like, there's probably 100 people, maybe more, that in some way helped make this project happen. Like all the guides over there, like just all of us, like all the sponsors, everyone that we're asking for, like, just, help and information. And so many people came together to help us, and a lot of them just kind of believed in what we were doing and jumped on the project. So, but yeah, I think, the first one was just like us, the three of us, just having a punt and going on a surf trip, and it ended up being something probably like bigger than we thought it would ever be. But yeah, this one's just was such a bigger beast, big budgets. Like, obviously we're going to a place that no one had been before, so like a lot of risk. And I think this one's, they're both amazing in their own ways to look back on. And I would like to I was saying to the boys, I haven't watched it in probably like a year, so I'd love to sit down and watch the first one, and then maybe even watch the second one after, and start planning the next one.
Yes, please.
I watched the first one the other night.
Did you?
First one's just, I just can't believe how much we just had such a fun. It was such a fun. We had no idea what we were doing.
And if you think about I guess in comparison, let's say like an Art of Flight, like a Curtis Morgan film, there's 5 or 6 like red cameras on the snow there. There's 2 guys on the heli following along. You guys had 3 cameras, maybe 2 at any one time, to capture that quality of image. It's a testament to your skill, obviously, in the planning and the preparation, but ultimately it's a testament to, like you just said, the preparation and the teamwork that goes into saying, this is what we want. Are we all in? Yep. Are we all in? Yep. Like, as I said, the outcome of this film is phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I know you guys are going to hear that over and over and over again, but I guess for the 3 of you guys, what was the big difference that you took from, or the learning experience that you took from the first film, and that you took into this film, and did that learning experience work, or did it play out? Was there something that you took from the experience from the first one?
Maybe we can all answer this in our own way, because I think it'll all be pretty different. But I think for me, I just learned how to take photos on the last trip, pretty much. So that was very much a passion thing for me, and that was kind of led me into a photography career in a way. So I learned so much from that trip. I think, like, how to shoot in the cold, what gear you need. I think survival, we spoke about this the other day, like we were fully punting on that trip, and a lot went wrong. And I think when you're in those climates, like, there's a pretty fine line between like being brave and being stupid. And I think we were very lucky to get away pretty unscathed on that trip, for sure. So I think going into this one, like the boys have already said, having the guides there and being like, hey, this is much bigger than just us. Like, we need like a proper team on the ground there, and just going, if we want to make this as good as it can be, we need, like, a big team there. And like Spen said, collaboration being like the biggest teach for us on this. It's like, we don't have to do everything. And like, the more people we get involved, the better it's going to be. And it's kind of like, in a way, it's like letting go of the ego and being like, it's not just us anymore. It's like a huge team. And like, even Luke, our producer, like, we couldn't have done it without him. It's just like adding kind of assets in a way to making this as good as it can be. But yeah, I think like storyline, like on the last one, we learned that it's like a mix of crazy cinematography and then also like human connection and like those raw moments. Because I think we found our last time, like, people love, in a way, us struggling or like making mistakes and learning from them, and like, because they can relate. And like, a lot of people can't relate to flying over a volcano in a helicopter, but they can relate to Letty crying, because it's like a human connection. So I think we wanted to bring that a lot into this trip and this story.
Yeah. Okay, so
What about fun crying?
I'm getting there. Let's go.
that's exactly where I was about to go. So,
No, man.
No, it was this. So we've got you on the mic now. So one of my good mates, Ewan Donick, he's former pro, well, I think still pro bodyboarder, but when we lived together, he talked about an experience at Chopu where he got held down twice, run over the reef, and he got into the bay and said he just got onto the sand and just burst out in tears, like, because it was that emotional experience that he couldn't hold that in on a positive and in a life-threatening way. And in this particular case, you know, through that film, like, you guys have expressed that really well, like, exhausted, nothing left in the tank. Can I don't know if you can recall it, but I'm interested to hear the moment Anton says he sees you on your board and it goes boing, like pretty much where you get dumped, you know, on your longboard, to the moment you fall onto the sand. What's the process like in your mind? Does it go through, like we said, worst case? What are you? Was it just complete survival? Can you run through how that felt in a play-by-play?
Yeah, so it was, I guess initially, yeah, we landed on the beach in the helicopter. Fraser had seen this wave out the window and we were all tripping that this wave even existed, like in the far east of Kamchatka, that we'd found it. Like, even that in a sense was like, you know, mission complete in a way. We'd found a wave that no one had ever surfed before.
Well, that's
and I guess
mankind, 60,000 years, no one has ever been and done what you did.
yeah,
Ever.
like it was trippy. Like, we're all, and I think for me, definitely my heart rate had gone for like another 11. I was like, okay, I want to shoot water because we could get like some of the craziest shots ever. But then it was also like, it's -15 or whatever it was in 1 to 2 degree water and you're paddling a kilometer out to sea. So it's kind of weighing up whether that was a good idea. And then Anton said he had a 10-foot longboard in the helicopter and he's like, why don't you swim out on that and then shoot off the male in the channel? And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And I was a bit lagging setting up my camera and stuff with the boys, so they'd already paddled out. And then I don't know if you can recall in the video, but the shore break was like pretty gnarly. Like, it was, I don't know, 6 to 8
Chunky
foot
and ugly.
curve shore. Like,
but
it was,
like on boulders, like it wasn't like Pebble Beach. It was like these big boulders that would move, like, yeah, so edge.
so it took, I don't know how long it
It
took
looked
you
like a
guys to
mini
navigate
avalanche.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 8 foot. Yeah,
So I guess like from the start, it was like I was already pretty on edge. It's like I had a 10-foot log, a camera with my 70-200, so a big long lens in there. It's probably a few kilos. And then trying to navigate my way out through an 8-foot shore, it was like already a challenge in itself. So I finally got out the back maybe 20 minutes or so later. And then Fraser got like a psycho first one. And then I don't know how long I was shooting for, maybe like half an hour or so, but Letty got another one. And then there was like these rogue sets that would come through every now and then. And I was struggling to kind of find the sweet spot because there's a really strong current sucking you into the impact zone. And then at one point, yeah, Anton just yelled out like, sad. And I saw these big lines coming. I don't remember not moving. I thought I started
Maybe
to
it
paddle,
looked like you didn't move. You're trying.
But yeah, I just remember going like, you know, that I'm sure you've had in the surf, there's like a big set and you're like, oh, I'm not going to make it under this. Like, and
It's
you
the
kind
worst.
of pause and go, do I stay where I am or do I try and clear it? And I can't even remember, to be honest. Like, I think it cleaned me up and I remember being underwater and I was just like, don't let go of my camera. Don't let go. But the log was like, it was a 10-foot log, so it was dragging you really far through the inside. And once water gets inside your weddy, like, you're literally gasping for air. Like the boys described, it's like the worst brain freeze ever. And when that's happening over and over and over, and like you're literally grubbing your face and just being like, fuck, like
It's on
you can't move. You actually can't move.
I spoke about it the other day with someone. It's like, you know, when you're in the ice bar and you kind of like have that safety of going, I can get through this, but I know I can get out whenever I want. It's like you don't have that. It's like you have to get through it. And I think I just started to panic. And it's like I got pushed pretty far through to the inside and my leggy at one point, I was kind of out of the impact zone, so I was safe, but my leggy got caught on a rock and I kept trying to get the leash off because I was like, fuck this longboard, like I need to get rid of this thing. And I couldn't because it was like, had those big mitts on and I was trying to get my hand in through the cuff, but I couldn't get it in because the mitts were too thick. And I think I just started to like panic more and more, and then eventually got pushed out into the channel on the other side, and it was probably, I don't know, 2 k's away from the helicopter at this point.
Yeah, so far. You had to paddle back out. So every time you fell off, you got washed through this impact zone and then you spat out on the other side of the bay and you have to paddle all the way around.
It's around the back.
Because there are these weird ledges and like, it's like
pushing that way.
It's not that big closeouts down from the peak and stuff. Like, it was
Yeah, it was gnarly. Just, yeah, I was, there was like 2 parts. One, I was like super exhausted and bummed, and the other part of me was like, we found a wave and I fucked it shooting it, like I've blown my opportunity. So there's like one part of me is like in survival mode and the other's like, you've blown this so hard. It was like the inner critic. So I was battling between like exhaustion and inner critic, like, you know, you're not good enough. The boys have probably got psycho waves and you're fucking struggling on the inside, dying. And then eventually, I don't know how long, another 10 or 15 minutes, paddle out the back. And
So you, sorry to interrupt, but you going through that inner critic while you were getting rinsed?
well, I'm getting in. Yeah.
So it's almost like your mind went into a potential distractive mode, but not necessarily one that was supportive.
It's like, and I speak for me and Spenny here, we've never put so much effort into a trip before, ever. Into a project, not a trip. And I think we both had visions of capturing a wave that had never been surfed before. And that was my goal, to get like the craziest shot ever. And same with Spenny, like get these crazy images of a place that's never been shot. And when I had that opportunity, like something I've worked so hard on and then kind of blown it, or like, you know, I've learned in a way now I can look back and reflect and go, and that was like one of the biggest lessons for me in this photography realm. But at the time I was like, you fuck this. So there was like survival and inner critic, like those two. And eventually I made it back out for the boys, and Letty looked at me and he was like, dude, like, where have you been? Like, are you okay? And I just kind of like, I'm okay, but I wasn't. Like, I was struggling. And I'd been cramping. And then from the beach, we saw the pilots like light up a flare, and it was time to go. There was a storm coming in, I think. And once they said, you see that, you guys need to come in immediately. And the tide was like ripping out. So the current was just like dragging us out to sea.
Insane, like snapper current, like it was insane. It was so hard to get in, like
Yeah, like,
so hard.
yeah. It was the gnarliest time I've ever been in, by a mile.
And for us too, like, and we were just sitting there, like, we didn't get smoked. We didn't have like a big, I don't know, whatever, 10 kilo camera and logboard, like, and we were still struggling to get in.
And I think like trying to balance a camera housing, which is the most awkward shape ever.
Yeah, yeah.
Like in the center point of a longboard while you paddle, it's like, would have to be one of the most frustrating things in the world. And I think Letty or myself realized how like rinsed you actually got.
Yeah. And then, so you guys were probably, if we all started paddling in together, and then I was struggling, like going so slowly because I was just completely exhausted. Like I'd never been to that breaking point before. I was like, I actually don't know how to keep going. And the boys were probably, I don't know, a few hundred meters in front of me, and Letty looks back and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you, because he didn't really know what was going on. And then he eventually paddled back out to me. He's like, dude, what's going on? And I was like, pretty much had tears in my eyes, and I was like, dude, I'm fucked. Like, I don't know if I can make this.
Because we thought he was cold. Like, we had no clue what had happened. Like, no clue.
But yeah, eventually Letty helped me in. We navigated the shore. I got to the beach and just collapsed and started crying. And I think it was like, yeah, a mix of everything that day. But you saw it was like very raw and real. And
Well, yeah, it has to. The emotion has to get out because you're holding it in that experience, you know, like
Fighting.
yeah, you're battling. And it's just that natural way. I mean, as I said, Jen, my ex, was when she snapped her arm in half at the snow. We spent 6 hours in the back of a car while it was bobbling all the way back to Sydney, and across the Hume Highway all the way home for 6 hours. No painkillers, nothing. It was just a snapped arm because she couldn't do this. And there's that moment where like you get home and it's like, oh, that sigh, and it's like it just has to come out because you've been holding it in so much. But it's real and it's natural. The inner critic thing, when you get on that beach and you let that out, was there any of that? Did you let any of that go?
nah.
You still got it?
I'm still getting over it. I remember seeing a shot Max got. So Max is also an amazing photographer at the guide. So he got this crazy shot of Fraser, and my ego was just like so bruised because it was like, again, I'd missed this opportunity to get this crazy shot. And I'm so aware that was all ego, but like for nights I was just journaling. Like we'd get back to the cabin and I just like wouldn't be able to sleep, and I was journaling because I was just like so upset with myself. And I was like, you know, looking at my idols like Jimmy Chin or Chris Burke, and I'm like, they wouldn't have blown that opportunity. So it was just like,
I reckon they wouldn't.
I reckon they've done that a million times.
And now it's like, I know that, and it's like, and I don't love going through that, but that will be the biggest teacher of my career by a mile. That moment has been my biggest teacher, for sure. Like, without a doubt.
And I had the hard decision of checking if my mate's okay because he's dying, or film it for the movie.
Thank God he held it.
I saw him coming in, and I just had like, I had my little camera, and I said, "Are you okay?" And he just like shook his head, and I just had my camera on my hip and just let it roll. And I think that take in the film is like 2 minutes or so, like, and we haven't really cut well, maybe one cut or so, but we've just let it be as raw and real as it was. And yeah, I think it, after all, like the success and the boys get flogged and they make a few and it's like, holy shit, we found this wave. It just like snaps everyone back to reality of like where we are and how gnarly it can get.
And as you said, that is the reality of wild places, right? That the lessons and things like that, and you might go out with expectations of doing X, Y, Z, or having these big visions of whatever it might be, but ultimately, like we said before, you're at the mercy of what nature's willing to give you. Last day, disappointment, didn't get get back at it. But I think that for me would shift my expectation of the next trip to be, rather than set something that may not exist or cannot exist, what can we control that can exist, and then let nature present its magic to me that's a little bit more, as you do with the imagination, like, because if there's expectation, there's no appreciation. And I think in that moment, it's a lesson that you learn that you hopefully take with you. And I think you say that, you get there, you're like, this was quite disappointing. You take a breath and then you say, but you know what? Like, and it comes into that state of appreciation. So it's that lack of expectation on that other end of the spectrum that, for someone like yourself, who we've talked quite deeply about a lot of stuff, someone who has so much talent, so much skill, and, as we said, when you go to these remote places with the skills that you have, you're going to become these guys that you emulate, the Chins, the guys that everyone's like, the Burkhards, like, you're going to put your name in that bag real soon. No doubt about it. Like, these guys will back that up. It's just that, are you going to enjoy it when you get there, or are you still going to keep chasing that elusive, like that imposter thing, And I think, and the reason I bring it up is because hopefully when people listen or watch this, it's like, well, I'm dealing with that myself, imposter syndrome. How do I get rid of it? And again, these are lessons that you're helping people as we go on. These are lessons that asking young filmmakers, it's like, what did you learn on this particular trip that, someone who's coming through, that wants to go wild, that wants to do something crazy, wants to have a big vision. How do I do it, Spenny? Like, what would you give them in terms of advice?
I think we tapped on it before, but I think just letting go of like a little bit of the ego and collaboration, and just like, it's not just about me, it's not just my project. Like, if we're going to need it to do a project this big, we needed to enlist a whole bunch of people in all kind of different walks of life to do it. And then, just knowing, like, if I'm not the best at something, get someone else to do it. So like, for like the color grade or the editing, I was like, all these things that I can do to like a bit of a level, but it's like, get the experts, get the best, and find the money and make it happen, because we didn't want to cut any corners with this. Like, we went to Russia for 2 months and made a film. Like, we don't want to come back and kind of just cut corners and skimp out when it gets to like the nitty gritty. So like, definitely the biggest thing, and I'm still learning, and it's always like sometimes a bit of a tough pill to swallow to kind of bring in heaps more people to a project. But I think in the end, it's like, everyone's in it for the right reasons. And
that's how you pick your team, right? You make sure you get the right people with the right ethos. Again, unity of values. We talked about that at the start. The idea is that if you've got the best of the best in what they do, you're going to have like, that table's full of the best. You're not just picking little bits off people. It's like a full table full of it.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of feed off of that as much as you need to, because all that energy is going to create something greater because of the quality of the team. And you even read like the Dao De Ching, they talk about like the best leaders, once the task is completed, the people think they did it themselves, and that's one of the things that a great leader does is he employs or collaborates with people, empowers them to that moment where they go, I get to express my own creative expression and my own self in this piece, like Lukey or your brother or Tim or whatever it is, these guys in their way. And then the leader stands back and goes, look what you guys did. And they're like, yeah, we did it, right? But you're the guy who's led the team. That's what a great leader does. So
good team on this one.
So for young guys specifically, it's like, get a team, right? It's the same thing with a band of musicians. You get a good team together. If you can put people together that have the same vision, the same love for what they do for one another, hopefully, you're going to come out with something that's amazing, or at least the experience is going to be life-changing, and you probably get both if you get it right, Well, I think in terms of what I was going to ask in terms of all that stuff, for me, probably the last question I will ask would be, because you're all in the water, sea life, sea lions, sharks, what's happening? Like, is there any thought in your head that it's like black water over there?
Yeah, there was There was nothing. There were sea otters. There were heaps of sea otters, like at one of the waves, which was sick, and they'd all like come and sniff us out. And then there was one sea lion one day that was
There's a few sea lions. They're big and like kind of, because all the sea otters they're like too scared to come up individually, so they come up in like groups of 10 or 20. It's so funny. They're just like these little like greagles that pop out of the water. They're so cute. They're on their back, but they're so inquisitive because obviously they've never seen like people surfing there. And they're like, what's this? And then like between that, you just see these big heads of like these scary seals that just like pop up, and you're like, oh boy, I hope that doesn't come close to us.
yeah. And then what else? Like I think the orcas just they don't come. Nax and stuff were saying they just don't come into the heads. They kind of just sit.
Yeah, different season. Same with brown bears. They were just waking up as we were leaving.
Brown
Yeah, Max was saying that 10 people in the city of Kamchatka like die a year from bear attacks.
No, wasn't it one?
No, I think
There's a lot of bears there. Summer's got like
attacks in the city.
yeah. Summer's like another world of life over there. You've got brown bears. I know sharks do come in the summer when the salmon run.
you got lava,
Yeah.
more lava because it's not all frozen.
Orcas.
It's like frozen over. Yeah, there's some crazy shit happens in summer. We should probably go back.
Kind of glad we went in winter.
Yeah.
You don't want to be dealing with freaking megalodon bears.
Don't they set up like an electric fence?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they get Alexi to sit there
For like 48 hours on end. Like,
Legit. Yeah. One of the guys who helped us, like Max was saying,
guy who draws the boat.
Yeah, Lexi. Who's missing his pinky. Is it? Or no, this one. And he'll just stay up all night watching over the can with like a gun or something and just smoking ciggies. Serious. Like crazy.
Different.
We're just like, he told us that, we're like, this guy is the best bloke ever.
It's so funny. He didn't speak a word of Russian, but like, sorry, I'm of English. Yeah, good trick on. But when we were in that boat, like like in that area, like you just feel so safe around him. Like you can tell he's just been doing it his entire life, and like there's something about him. It's pretty cool.
Well, one of the things, or the first time I met you, laddie, was on the headland at Ave, and you were coming out of surf with a grom. And I remember you were coaching him. I was like, hey, bro, like, hey, man, and just give me a sec. And then you were just teaching him about what he was doing in the surf and just engaged. Like, there was no distraction. It was completely there. And one of the things that I think everyone loves about this film is that moment where you guys all connect with the Groms in Russia, right? And, like, you could have gone through that whole thing and gone, no, we're focused. We're doing our thing. But I knowing these guys particularly, it would have been like any opportunity to express and to explore and to give back. Like specifically to Anton, who's such a great character in this film, is like a legend. But the kids, you know, like what I loved about it and what we kind of want to sign off of is literally you guys just introduced them to surfing. That was their first time, these three kids. They'd done it before?
They'd surf, through Anton's surf camp,
I thought they might have, because a couple of them actually stood up and did it.
Yeah. Hey, what? Yeah.
But what is, like, for you guys, on the deepest level, like, what does surfing mean to you? Like, I know it's what you do for a livelihood. It allows you to travel, but what is the essence for you?
I think it's just that sense of connection. Like we connected with those kids on a deeper level than like language, because obviously we couldn't speak to each other, and you just share this like same feeling and like energy, and it was really, really cool. And I think like surfing just enables you to do that.
It's like a language spoken without words.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's great. You can like not know someone, and like with those Groms, we didn't know them, and you can just like go surf and have a laugh. And then you get out of the water and you're like best mates, you know? So, but yeah, what do you say? What surfing?
Yeah, it's just is the depth of, I mean, that to me explains, I think that's.
Connections, people, like how many people we've met from surfing and from
we're
this.
Still touring the film now, and we're meeting like hundreds of people in a night, and everyone's just pumped on, sharing what we've done and hopefully inspiring people and, get people frothing. But I think like, with those kids, like we were on that trip and like every day we were just like, boom, 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 like where are we surfing? What are we doing? The helicopter are we getting? Blah, blah. So that moment of the trip was like, we just all just like chilled out and we're like, it was good to just kind of just relax for a day and like take these Grom surfing and like yeah, I think the boys kind of really appreciated and kind of brought it back to like
What it's all about.
why we do it, why we
Yeah.
surf, and it's like it's not all about like finding that wave and doing this crazy trip, which is why we were there. But it was cool to just like get kind of smack back to reality and
Perspective.
just surfing.
And also just seeing what Anton had created. Oh,
Yeah.
Full surf pub out of absolutely nothing. Yeah, that was awesome.
In like the furthest corner of the earth that you can go. So that plug.
Follow us on the gram.
Yeah. But yeah, one of the most remote places all of us have been, I think we'll agree. And he's teaching kids to surf. And we surfed on like the East Coast in Sydney, Australia. There in the East Coast of Russia, like so different. And it's just the same.
So the same. Yeah.
Going surfing.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's you connecting to that connection of the wave or the hitting the pocket or the smile that you get when you land something, do something, seeing your mates frothing, like that's what it's about, right? And the reason I think you guys are so in tune and the success of this film is as monumental as it is because it was meant to be. The fortune that you guys are going to expect because of the bravery, the courage, and the depth of why you guys do this thing. The truth or the authenticity is that it is what makes you guys who you are. The quality of you guys is obviously the same as the quality of the actual surfing. So for me, as I said, from a guy who's seen it twice and loved it and will see it again, I'll rip it off Napster or wherever I can find it. But an experience that for us and hopefully for you guys too, that it's one of those experiences from mate to a mate that just shows you that you are at that level that you so desire. I mean, you guys specifically, it's one of those things that for me it was like you said, there's really no words for it other than just extraordinary. And we want to thank your sponsors. We'll put all those names up for getting behind the project. Namely, Project Blake was a big one. But for all of those guys who make this happen, and for you guys, thanks for delivering what you did. And keen for the next one. Don't let us know, but we'll have another interview when that comes. It's coming.
Thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, dog.